My name is Angela Brown. I live in Toronto, Canada. In April of 2024, I was diagnosed with pulmonary hypertension. It started towards the end of 2022. I wasn't feeling well. My legs would swell up and I would have problems walking and breathing. It got really bad. Like if I had to go to the hospital visit my brother-in-law who was dying of cancer. And when I worked with the mask on, I could barely breathe. I was hyperventilating. I knew something was not right, but because we were dealing with my brother-in-law's illness and we knew he was going to die shortly, I didn't tell anyone. And then he passed away and we had the funeral. And then I told my daughter, I said, I need to go to the doctor because I'm not feeling very well. And so we went to the doctor's office. When we got there, I couldn't even walk from the parking lot into the building. I had no energy. My legs hurt. I just felt like I couldn't move. And I stopped. It was raining. And I just stopped in the rain and just stood there. And she's like, what's wrong with you? Come on, let's go get inside. And I got inside the building and then tried to walk to the elevator and I passed out. That was the beginning of the journey. They did some tests, chest x-rays. They told me that my lungs was congested. That's all it was, nothing to worry about. They gave me antibiotics and that would solve the problem. So I finished the antibiotics, but that didn't solve the problem. They told me to go see my cardiologist, which I did. And she did some tests and she said the pressure in my lungs was a little bit high, but she didn't really explain what that meant. She said, we're going to have to send you to a lung specialist. They made an appointment and almost 2 months later, I went to see the lung specialist. But when I got there, he said that, I looked at your chart, because I have a lot of chronic illnesses. And he said, but I can't help you with what's happening to you because I don't work with that. I work with CPAP machines. So he sent me to a different lung specialist. It took like another month and a half to 2 months. And that was the first time I heard of pulmonary hypertension. He said, well, looking at your charts and everything else that I've seen, I think you have pulmonary hypertension, but I have to confirm it. In order to do that, we have to do some tests. So he did blood work, he did walking tests, he did chest x-rays, you name it, he did it. And a month later, I went back and he said, well, I still think you have pulmonary hypertension, but I still have to prove it. Then he told me you need to do a right heart catheterization. There, they told me that there's a medication they could give me that would be able to help my pulmonary hypertension. And they gave the medication. And then 4 weeks later, I went back and they did the test again. And they said they have to wait longer to see if it would work because so far it didn't look like the medication was helping. So I went back 6 weeks later. They gave me another medication on top of the one they gave me before. Went back 6 weeks later. They said they saw a little bit of improvement. So it's been over a year since I've been diagnosed. Having pulmonary hypertension and having to take medication is not the only thing that you have to do when you have pulmonary hypertension, I realized. So of course you have to cut salt out of your diet. So no sodium or as little as possible. So I have a low sodium diet. I can only have 1.5 liters of liquid per day. So I have to measure everything that I drink. First, when they told me, I thought it was 1.5 liters of water per day. But when I went back, they said, no, it's 1.5 liquid. So anything that produces liquid. So if you have fruits produce liquid, you have to measure that. If you drink water, if you drink pop, milk, juice, whatever, it has to be measured. And it cannot go above 1.5 liters per day. And it is very hard. Some days are a lot harder than others because you want to drink something and you can't because you only have a little bit of liquid left. I'm thirsty, but I can't drink anything. It's very hard. Low sodium is very difficult as well because everything has sodium in it. I didn't even realize like even a candy or a chocolate bar has sodium. So basically I have to look at every single thing. I went to Jamaica for my niece's wedding and it was crazy because it's hot. When it's hot, you want to drink more, but I can't. I still have to, even though I'm in a foreign country, I'm on vacation, I still have to stick to the 1.5 liters of liquid per day. I still have to find food to eat that have no sodium or low sodium. It was a struggle trying to find something to eat. At the resort, every night they had a guy who makes stir fries. I told him, okay, I need stir fry, but I need no salt. And then he said, okay, I'll get some meat from the back that's in the fridge that's not seasoned yet, and I'll cook it for you. And that's what he did with the vegetables and the pasta. And that's what I ate every single night for 7 days because it was the only thing I could find that I could guarantee 100% does not have sodium. I also they had a hibachi restaurant in Jamaica as well. And I told them ahead of time, I said, okay, no salt. Make my food first and then make everybody else's food. And that's what he did. So it's always in your mind. The salt, the no sodium, and the liquid. It's always in my mind. And if I forget, I have my daughter who reminds me 100%. And when you go to a restaurant, of course, I have to ask, okay, what can you cook me that has no sodium? Well, I try to find restaurants that cook from scratch, like right there, this restaurant, they cook it as you order it. So I can say, okay, I want salmon. Please, only put some pepper on it. Don't put any salt. Just put some pepper on it. Food, they don't have the same taste they used to. I told my daughter, I said, I don't eat for pleasure anymore. I just eat because I have to, because the food is bland. I didn't realize that sodium makes such a big difference in your food. I buy all the no salt seasoning that I can find. Mrs. Dash, this particular one that has no salt, and other seasoning, Mrs. Dash, Clubhouse, and some other ones. They make your food a little bit more tasty, but your food is a lot less tasty without sodium. But this is my life. This is what I have to go through. Being someone who has a lot of chronic illnesses, I've gone through this process before many times before getting a diagnosis. And when you finally get a diagnosis, you're like happy for a minute. You're like, yes, but wait a minute, I'm sick. I just have something. They told me my prognosis was severe. So you have severe pulmonary hypertension. So I was happy that finally you could tell me conclusively this is what I have. But then I remember all the things that I've read and all the things that go along with it. And I started reading. I remember Natalie Cole, the daughter of Nat King Cole, died of pulmonary hypertension. Like I never heard of pulmonary hypertension, but suddenly I can tell you stars that have died from it and all these things. And each time I tell my daughter, she tells me the same thing, Mom, stop reading Google. It's just a cycle of doctor's appointments and letdowns and going to the doctor and hoping for a diagnosis and being let down. Just go on and on like that for 2 years. It's rough on their mental health. I think anybody who has a chronic illness is resilient because you have to pick yourself up and go every time we go to the doctor's appointment. You feel down, but you have to pick yourself up. You have to keep going. I would say to anybody who's just being recently diagnosed with pulmonary hypertension, try not to Google everything and try not to read so much stuff about it because you just scare yourself. You just put yourself into a mindset that's not good. Like I was so depressed and about have everything after what I read. But I had my daughter to keep telling me to stop reading and just focus on only what the doctor says and not reading all this stuff out there. Everybody is different. There's not a one size fit all when it comes to pulmonary hypertension. So when you read all that stuff, that is a possibility, but it doesn't mean it's a possibility for you. That's what I learned. It's just there. This is what happened to other people in the past. You may be lucky and it's not as bad as what you've read, or it could be worse than what you've read. In any case, just try to keep calm, try to focus on your doctor and what your doctors are telling you to do and not on everything else that's happening. I know it's scary when you're first diagnosed, but you just got to go through the process with the doctors and trust your doctors. Celebrate the wins. I went to the cardiologist and she said everything looked good, way better than it did a year ago. That's a win. Celebrate that. When I saw the pulmonologist and he said everything looks so much better than it did when you first got here, I celebrate that as a win. It doesn't mean that I'm cured or I'm out of the woods, but it just means that things are progressing good and you just have to take that in and keep going with your life. You may have a few restrictions here and there, things that you have to do that's going to make it difficult, like no salt or counting your liquids, things like that. But it's a win-win. The doctors smile at you and say, oh, things look good. Take that as a win. My name is Angela Brown, and I'm aware that I'm rare.